This is day number 2 of reading out loud, and today I have a little guest here, a little guest that's going to be joining me along my reading. This is Unlimited Power. It's my 10-minute commitment on a daily basis to read out loud. So I figured, I bring him in and see if we can do 10 minutes together. So communication is power. Those who have mastered it and effective use can change their own experiences of the world and the world's this is a little more difficult than I thought. Experience of them. All behavior and feelings find their original roots in some form of communication. Those who affect the thoughts, feelings, and actions of the majority of us are those who know how to use this tool of power. Think of the people that have changed the world, like John F. Kennedy, Thomas Jefferson, Martin Luther King, Franklin Delano, Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Muhammad Gandhi. In a much grimmer vein, think of Hitler. What all these men had in common was their master in communications. No, they were master communicators. They were able to take their vision, whether it was to transport people into space or create a hate-filled Third Reich, and communicate it to others with such congruency that they influenced the way the masses thought and acted. Through their communication power, they changed the world. In fact, isn't this also what sets Spielberg and Springsteen and Ialoka and Fonda and Reagan apart from others? Are they not masters of the tool of human communication or influence? Just as these people are able to move the masses with communication, it's the tool we also use to move ourselves. Your level of communication mastery in the external world will determine the level of success with others, personally, emotionally, socially, and financially. More important, the level of success you experience internally, the happiness, joy, ecstasy, love, or anything else you desire, is a direct result of how you communicate to yourself. How you feel is not the result of what is happening in your life. It's your interpretation of what is happening. Successful people's lives have shown us over and over again that the ability to how you feel is not the result of what is happening in your life. It's the interpretation of what is happening. Successful people's lives have shown us over and over again that the quality of our lives is determined by not what happens to us, by what we do about what happens. You are the one who decides how to feel and act based upon the ways you choose to perceive your life. Nothing has any meaning except the meaning we give. Most of us have turned this process of interpretation on automatic, but we can take that power back and immediately change our experience of the world. This book is about taking kinds of massive, focused, congruent actions that lead to overwhelming results. In fact, if I were to say to you in 2 words what this book is about, I say it's about producing results. Think about it. Isn't that what you're really interested in? Maybe you want to change how you feel about yourself and your world. Maybe you'd like to be a better communicator, develop a more loving relationship, learn how to rapidly become healthier, and earn more money. You can create all of these things for yourself and much more through the effective use of information in this book. Before you can produce new results, however, you must first realize that you're already producing results. Truth, they just may not feel the results that you desire. Most of us think of our mental states and most of what goes on in our minds as the things that happen outside of our control. But the truth is, you can control your mental activities and your behaviors to a degree you've never believed possible before. If you're depressed, you created and produced that show you call depression. If you're ecstatic, you created that too. It's important to remember that emotions like depression do not happen to you. You do not catch depression. You create it, like every other result in life, through specific mental and physical actions. In order to be depressed, you have to view your life in a specific way. You have to say certain things to yourself in just the right tones of voice You have to adopt a specific posture, breathing patterns. For example, if you wish to be depressed, it helps tremendously if you collapse your shoulders and look down a lot. Speaking in a sad sounding tone of voice and thinking of the worst possible scenario for your life also helps. If you throw in your biochemistry into turmoil through your poor diet or exercise or alcohol use or drug use, you assist your body in creating low blood sugar, thus virtually guaranteeing depression. My point here is simply that it takes effort to create depression. It's hard work and it requires taking specific types of actions, right? Some people have created the state so often that it's easy for them to produce. In fact, often they're linked this pattern of internal communication to all kinds of external events. Some people get so many secondary gains, attention from others, sympathy, love, and so on, that they adopt this style of communication as their natural state of living. Other people have lived with it so long that it actually feels comfortable. They become identified with the state. We can, however, change our mental and physical actions and thereby immediately change your emotions and behavior. You can become ecstatic by immediately adopting the point of view that creates that emotion. You can picture in your mind the kind of things that created this feeling. You can change the tone and content of your internal dialogue with yourself. You can adopt that specific posture and breathing patterns that create the state in your body, and voila, you will experience ecstasy. If you wish to be compassionate, you simply have to change your physical and mental actions to match those states of compassion requires. The same is true of love or any other emotion. You think of the process of producing emotional states by managing your internal communication as being similar to a director's job. To produce the precise result he wants, the director of a movie manipulates what you see and hear. If he wants you to be scared, he might turn up the sound and splash some special effects on the screen and just at the right moment. If he wants you to be inspired, he'll arrange music, the lighting, everything else on the screen to produce that effect. A director can produce a tragedy or a comedy in the same event, depending upon what he decides to put on the screen. You could do the same things with the screen of your mind. You could direct your mental activity, which is underpinning of all physical action, with the same skill and power. You could turn up the light and the sound of the positive messages in your brain, and you can dim the picture and sound of negative ones. You can run your brain and skillfully, as Spielberg or Scorsese run his set. Some of what follows will seem hard to believe. You probably don't believe that there's a way to look at a person and know this exact thought or instantly summons upon your most powerful resources at will. But if you had suggested 100 years ago men would go to the moon, you would probably have considered a madman or a lunatic. Where do you think the word came from? If you have said what is possible to travel from New York to Los Angeles in 5 hours. Oh, are you over the reading, Papa? Is this too much already? Is that the... ¿Mande?
Aquí estoy, si quiere dármelo.
Okay, está bien. Ahorita se lo paso. Thank you, Papa, for listening. You did so great. Uh-oh. Thank you so much, Nana.
Pampercito y lechita.
Yes, thank you. So here we are. We are about 8 minutes and 45 seconds. He actually lasted 7 minutes of focused reading, which was pretty impressive. And even so, you might be thinking like he's only 8 months, right? But if you think about what happens in the first 7 years, 7 years of your life, you actually don't remember it, but that builds your unconscious and it builds your reality because you're taking in information and you don't distinguish whether it's true or not. So if I'm reading these words, these patterns, these codes directly into his subconscious mind, this is going to alter his reality in the future. I truly believe that our words become our world. And this whole section here was definitely communicating that with the power of communication, how we experience feelings, not because we're experiencing feelings from an external powerless location. Your emotional system is directed by you creating certain patterns, and those certain patterns repeated will result. So, it just got me to reflect that, man, you could think be a bit depressed person, right? That was the highlighted scenario, and you're really not depressed. You just practice the script that's called depression, right? And so it's a habit. I think about that everything in our life is a habit. Yeah, living an extraordinary life, having an amazing relationship, having a peak, body, your physique, right? That you really take care of it, your finances, your soul, and you're being somebody that is also connected to your life, and you're not so busy building a life, but you're actually living a life. And man, so powerful, right? This was only a couple minutes, but the insights. This is one of the things that I do when I read. I actually write down my insights and what it means and how I can most importantly download this information into my life and basically work on overriding the unconscious, right? Because I also had my first 7 years, and the environment in my first 7 years are completely different than my son's first 7 years. So therefore, there's certain patterns that I've had to work really hard to unwind and also just basically let them go and understand that they're not part of my reality. The reality that I live is the one that I create. So really cool stuff. Thank you for joining me here on day number 2 of Reading Out Loud for 10 minutes. My intention is to speak better because I have a passion to serve. So I want to continue to elevate and transform my speaking. And definitely just as an accountability here, I'm going to be reading to my son, which is pretty cool. So we'll see where it goes. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, and drop your comments. I would love to hear your feedback on what you thought about the most recent reading.